So if you listen to podcasts at 1.5 times speed, if silence makes you feel uncomfortable, if every walk, drive, or spare moment has to be productive, watch this to the end because I'm going to tell you why I stopped doing all of those things and what it revealed about my brain, my nervous system, and the ways we use learning to avoid ourselves. I didn't expect this shift. And I got to be honest, I didn't want it. And I can't unsee it now. So listen, I'm guilty. I've been trying to sandwich information into my brain at alarming rates. I've spent probably the last 7 years putting podcasts and audiobooks all at 1.5, 1.8 times speed. And I've even snuck in at 2 times. Anyone else? I've taken most walks, hikes, drives, pretty much every spare moment to jam more information in my brain, maximizing my time, being efficient, learning while doing. In my defense, I am busy. And even if I really wanted to double down on my excuses, which I do, I remember a lot of what I listen to. I retain a ton of information. And so I have this reason to keep putting more audio in my ears instead of eyes on books. But recently I learned a lot about the brain and technology and how they interact and how blue light interacts in the brain, and that more on that in another video. But how using technologies like ChatGPT can actually make our brain atrophy in some ways. And look, I can't pretend that I don't know what I know now. And that has caused me to read books again. I can't believe it. And you might wonder, why has a voracious audio consumer taken such a giant leap backwards? Well, forwards. Here are some of the things that I've learned that might change how you do things too. You might start picking up books and getting nerdy with me. Now, we surround ourselves with noise and busyness so that we don't have to feel things, right? We all know this strategy, a busy life, running from one thing to the next, feeling overwhelmed, late for everything, always learning something, always doing something. And this insatiable desire that we have to fit more and more into every second and every moment of life. We say yes to everyone and everything except ourselves. Now, look, I'm not demonizing efficiency. I think it's great. I'm not demonizing the desire to learn. What I am pointing out is that when efficiency and learning become logically rationalized ways that we avoid looking at ourselves, that we avoid being with ourselves. I'm guilty of this. There's a great saying by someone who's spiritual. I'm not sure who it was. But if you don't have 10 minutes to meditate, you need 2 hours. Now look, a quiet mind is one that's been listened to. I heard that years ago, and I just couldn't seem to shake the awareness of that. The thing that prevented me from meditating was that I didn't have time, but really, I didn't know how to sit in the discomfort. Look, if you run from silence, it's usually a sign that there's something in the silence that you don't want to hear, and also something you desperately need. As Rumi said, the cure for the pain is in the pain. So let's go get it, you little busybody. Let's set up some time to be in silence without any information in our ears. Slowing down to 1.0 speed, I get it. It can feel like a betrayal to a culture that is running at 1.5 times speed. You desire to slow down, but everything you read and hear is like, hey, it's not enough. You need to do more, more, more. And look, the cost of living, all the things, we feel like we got to go, go, go. And I feel that too. And yet in slowing down, we actually speed up our connection to miracles and synchronicities. And we also get to be more present with the things that really matter most in our life, which is not just ourselves, but our relationships. We have to be willing to confront the fear that if we slow down and stop and go at the pace of our being and our soul, that the world is going to fly right by while we're sitting beside a river. So I get that fear. But what actually happens is the inverse. You get more present to the world. It doesn't fly by you. Now, we live in a culture that really praises the mind, and it's terrified of the concept of the soul. And when I was growing up, the jobs that made sense, the jobs with status, praise, all of that kind of stuff, they were jobs that required the mind. They were the lawyer, the doctor, the accountant, the engineer. We live from the neck up. And yes, obviously there's a value to the mind, of course. But when you're suspended in grief, your mind's never going to be able to rescue you. Because love, grief, and pain, and the reality of what it means to be excruciatingly human will never make sense. unless we go to the soul. Because the mind really does run from grief, but the soul lives there. You actually discover more of yourself in those spaces. Look, I understand that when it comes to developing relationships and when it comes to trying to find relationships, we often have this saying that it's really hard to meet people these days. Yeah, it is pretty hard to meet someone who always has headphones in their ears, who looks unapproachable and avoids true availability and therefore rejection. So yeah, enough said about that, right? Now look, when we try to go to the mind to conceptually understand things, the mind can't understand what is created within. And a mentor actually told me that when I was trying to figure out something, and I said to him, look, I can't make it make sense. And the mentor said to me, that's because your brain is created within the thing you're trying to make sense of. The mind belongs to the 3D. When you need faith, guidance, or something greater, God, the universe, the mind isn't the destination. Boredom, silence, nature, presence. That's how we move beyond it. So let's stop being slaves to it. So on top of the consumption of information and all the types of speeds, books are also really important because they're the gym for the brain. And so is writing without ChatGPT, because the study that looked at that showed something really important. That there's something magical about writing your first draft, your poem, your thought, right? Because when we outsource creativity, it appears that we get dumber. And we let computers shape our language, our stories, and our culture. We start to actually write with a similar cadence. And you can see this all over the place where people are using it to write copy and comments and all that kind of stuff. So not only is a book the gym for your brain, it's also an act of rebellion in a world captured by short form video. You really want to F the man? Which, relax, that's a 90s phrase. Read. If you want to F the man, read. You want to recalibrate your phone addiction? Read. You want to resist whatever BS is coming? Read. You want to unhook from the possibility of propaganda? Read. Just don't read the news. And spend lots of time in nature, right? Because nature moves at this circadian pace that I'm talking about, this 1.0. Because when we're doing all the frenetic things, we're actually accelerating past the time of day, right? Think about that. We turn lights on at night to continue to be as productive as possible beyond where nature has said it's time to turn it down. Now, look, I never thought that I would get to a place where I'd be making a video advocating for reading more books. Not that I don't think books are valuable, but I actually think the sitting down and reading them was the thing I was really avoiding. But here I am, and I finished my first book of 2026 last week. I'm deep into the second. And I might still listen at 1.2, 1.5 times speed for work stuff and when I am driving and doing things. But I've started to turn it off when I go for walks. I've started to turn it off when I'm working out. Not using every moment of every day to just jam more information inside of me. And of course, I want to go at that speed because once you've listened at 1.5 times speed, you're like, why are you talking so slow? So I get it. So no shame or shade if you continue to do that. Just create more pockets of time for yourself and for silence. Now look, maybe I need to start a book club. What do you guys think? It could be part of the analog revolution that I'm all for. Now remember, all the things I'm talking about are not about the shaming or the villainization of technology. They're about how do we create more choice in our relationship to technology so we can use it as a tool that can completely transform our lives, give us autonomy, give us access to our voice, all that kind of stuff, live our dreams, and yet also be able to dive deeper in relationships in real life, create friendships, be able to develop the capacity to hold emotional difference, right? To hold different opinions. And I think in a lot of ways, not only has technology moved us in opposite directions ideologically, it's created a massive gap between us. And that's why we have to get back to being present within ourselves so we could be present with other people. And of course, reading books is a great way to learn all the things. And so with all that said, I can't wait to hear what book you're reading. So make sure you hit that like button and the subscribe button, and I can't wait to see you in the next video.